What is a personal service provider? So, as I said, the gist of the PSP or Personal Service Provider Act or provision is to avoid people from registering companies and taking advantage of tax rates that would otherwise not apply to them if they were considered an employee. So, take a look at what SARS says here specifically. They say the use of labels such as independent contractor and service company and the perception that they are acceptable means of avoiding the deduction of employees' tax and compliance with labor legislation necessitated the development of stronger anti-avoidance measures for employee tax purposes. Now remember, the bulk of the tax revenue that the state collects is going to come from personal tax. And so they're very, very strict on how they legislate around personal tax and also just the loopholes that personal tax has. Businesses have a lot of provisions and a lot of things and a lot of incentives that they can take advantage of that the state has instituted because they want businesses to thrive and they want businesses to encourage economic stimulation and employment. However, when it comes to personal tax, the state is very strict on the different types of incentives that they have, which are minimal, and also the different types of ways you can work around paying your personal tax. But here's a quick flowchart right now that you can see if you are a PSP as a business owner. Number one is the person, a company, or a trust. If no, then you are not a personal service provider. But if you are a company, again, that's a cooperative, a PTY Ltd, or a CC, then yes. Is the service rendered personally by a connected person? A connected person is anybody who is the director or someone who's directly linked to the director. For instance, like myself, I'm an owner of an accounting firm and I render a lot of the services personally. So if you're a small business owner and you're consulting or you're an engineer or something like that, and you are the person rendering the service, then you are a connected person. Are there 3 or more full-time employees employed through the year other than the connected person engaged in rendering the service? If you have that, then you're not a personal service provider because it basically means that you wouldn't otherwise be considered an employee, right? This is a functioning business. You would not be considered an independent contractor trying to avoid personal tax rates. If not, if you're the sole person, it still doesn't mean that you're a personal service provider, but we need to check in some more. Okay, would the person rendering the service be regarded as an employee of the client if the service was rendered directly? Yes or no? If yes, then this person is a personal service provider, and this basically means if I had one client and I have a business and I'm rendering the service to them, but if I didn't have the business as a vehicle, I would then be considered an employee because I'm like under their direct supervision or things like that, then I'm a personal service provider, unfortunately. But if not, if you wouldn't otherwise be considered an employee, even if you're the only director of the business, you don't have 3 employees, maybe you have 1.5, then we move on to the next one. The next one is, are the duties performed mainly at the client's premises, and is the person subject to the control or supervision of the client as to the manner in which the duties are performed? Again, would you be otherwise considered an employee? Does the buck stop with you? Are you coming in with the expertise? Are you fully independent? If you are subject to your client's supervision, then unfortunately you are a personal service provider. Then does more than 80% of the income of the person consist of amounts received from any one client or associated institution? This can be determined by means of affidavit or solemn declaration. So that's another thing. If 80% of your income comes from one source, then you would also be considered a personal service provider. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment and share this with all of your friends. And be sure to sign up for our mailing list on my website. And feel free to book a tax consultation with me so that we can figure out the best tax strategy for you.